Hello there, and welcome to my channel. If you've seen my shorts before, I imagine you mostly know me for my cartoons, and that is the idea. But accompanying some of my art shorts, I have a few on my cassettes, and I think I made some on a few of my cameras. But believe me, dear viewer, it goes so much further than that. So, let me get into this. First, we have my beloved cassettes, along with the player. I used these to record music at one point. But when any of them get damaged, I have to redub everything, so I just have them for an audio journal now. I don't want to play them too much anymore, because that's mostly how they end up permanently damaging. I also have a portable tape player. It doesn't work too well with the longer tapes, but shorter ones are particularly better. So yeah, in terms of the audio cassette space, I don't actually have an awful lot, just some essential stuff. So I'll move on to cameras now. And things are about to get really interesting. I suppose I could start with oldest to newest that I own. First is this really old camera, potentially from the early 20th century perhaps? 1930s or something? I don't know the particular year this device is from. There wasn't many details from the antique storefront I claimed it from, but I can make an educated guess. In terms of the device itself, it uses some sort of compliant mechanism for the shutter, and the film it requires seems pretty large in comparison to most modern film cameras. You even have to crank this switch to move the film along. Alright, moving on. Next, we have this awesome movie camera from roughly the 1950s, I think, and yes, it shoots actual videos. You just have to crank it up, there's no battery. And once you load the film, and you've cranked it up and all that, you can find a button located on the front of the camera that you hold down to start the mechanism. It's entirely analog, which fortunately means no battery, as I mentioned previously. Although loading the film was a bit of a hassle, and finding a projector for it is going to be a struggle. This camera is pretty cool and very classy. Next camera is starting to get slightly more modern. We have my gargantuan VHS camera, of which I recently got more tapes for. This thing is absolutely massive. And even more impressively, it somehow has an entire VCR on board. And not to mention, the eyepiece is surprisingly not an array of mirrors, but a digital sensor output. So it's just an LCD screen. Very impressive for the time. The actual footage from the camera is actually pretty good too. My next camera is on the relatively small side. I think it might actually be my smallest one. I just got a brand new battery for this and used a roll of film. I haven't gotten it developed yet though, or any new rolls, but yeah, not much to say about this one. Just a pretty standard modern film camera. Moving on to our final camera, we have my Polaroid. I haven't used this in a while because film is kind of expensive, but I do have quite a few pictures I've already taken with this. It's a really nice camera, very high quality. It even came with some neat lens filters, although I haven't really tried them out yet. It's been a really, really great camera for as much as I've used it. Haven't had any issues so far. On to the next segment, which will be my old game consoles. This section doesn't have much to write home about, so I'll get through this one quickly. So first we have my Game Boy Advance SP, pretty simple, easy to understand, handheld, and a Wii. Alright, now to the particularly more interesting stuff again. Here's my floppy disk drive. It only uses the small 3.5-inch floppy disks. I don't even know if there's a drive that uses the larger ones that works with modern computers. Anyways, I digress. These things are awesome to mess around with. They can only hold roughly a megabyte of information, but you'd be surprised what you can fit on these things, especially with the right file compressor. When you're using it, the drive makes all these loud noises. But interestingly, even when you're filling up the whole disk at once, it doesn't take that long whenever you're transferring information. It's relatively quicker than you would expect. Not like faster than a hard drive or anything, but yeah, you get the point. And with that, I think that just about concludes things here. That's about my entire collection. So if you weren't convinced already, yes, I am very obsessed with old technology like this. Why, you may ask? Well, I suppose it's just sheer curiosity, maybe mixed with the novelty of the technology itself. I don't think I can really explain it much more than that, so I believe this is where I bid you adieu. Make sure to like, subscribe, and all that junk. Adios, and keep on moving forward.